My 29F boyfriend 30 meters cheated? Should I have let him die? Throw away because my boyfriend knows my Reddit. Last Thursday, my boyfriend, 30M, and I, 29F, were talking over a Homelander scene from our favorite superhero show. He's big into superheroes and mentioned that if he was in that scene, he'd go down with the plane and the people on it. It was a deep moment for him, I guess, showing he'd sacrifice himself for others. I'm a mom, so I saw it differently. I told him straight up that I'd do what Homelander did because I've got my daughter to live for. She's my world, and I need to be here for her. Then he asked, what about my sister and nephews? Aren't they worth dying for? As if his choice to die mid-air and leave his family to live without him meant that he was living for his family. My response was, apparently not. You're choosing to die on a plane full of strangers. It was harsh, but I was trying to say my daughter comes first for me. Right after that, the call dropped, and things got weird. I figured he'd call back, but he didn't. I tried sending memes to lighten the mood, but for 2 days got nothing. After a bit, I texted him out of frustration, which I ended up apologizing for, and I called to see what was up, and he kept saying, I'll talk to you when I'm ready. You pissed me off. I was confused but still empathetic. I asked if we were still good, if there was someone else. He didn't answer to if there was another woman, but he said he didn't want to break up, just said he'd talk when he's ready. 2 days later, he's finally ready to talk. I waited a bit, then called, and we cleared the confusion. Turns out he thought I meant his family wasn't good enough when I said what I said about the plane. He called me his so-called girlfriend, said I shouldn't look down on his family, and that I am the one responsible for our poor communication in the relationship. To be clear, I didn't mean it that way. I was just answering the question from my perspective. I understood how he might have felt that way, but he didn't communicate with me that he was upset. I told him this could have been avoided if he just told me how he felt. He agreed, and it seemed like we were moving past it. But then he drops that he hung out with a female friend the entire day after our first call. He didn't tell me about it until after we made up. So yeah, here I am, trying to figure out where we go from here. I feel betrayed, and question if this was cheating. For context, him and this person are not particularly close. The woman in question lives in my same city, 2.5 hours away from my boyfriend. She picked him up and dropped him off. I trust my boyfriend, but I also know he can be vindictive and vengeful. What are your thoughts? Is this considered cheating? Edit. We've been together 1y3 meters. A rule in our relationship is to tell each other when we're going to be hanging out with the OS beforehand. It's not something I forced onto the relationship, but something that we have discussed that we like about our relationship and makes us feel safe. I know that if I were to spend a minimum of 5 hours in a car with another male friend, he would have a problem with me not saying anything, even if I was upset, because we always say something even during disputes. Him telling me after isn't normal, and it feels like he did it just to hurt me because he was upset. Edit. Thank you everyone. I've decided to leave the relationship and seek healing for myself through the gym and therapy. Will give an update after the breakup to let you know how it went. I will never understand why people blow up relationships over hypothetical situations that will never happen. It's ridiculous. So to get my head around this, you had a falling out over what you'd do if you were superheroes? And I'm here wasting a minute or two of my time reading about it. Jesus Christ. The guy who says he'd die to save people goes into an emotional rage when his girlfriend doesn't agree with his superhero show and immediately hangs out with a girl almost 3 hours away. Why would you waste your time with him? He overreacted. deflected blame onto you. It's not your fault he took it personally. And then mentioned OL girl to upset you. Sounds like a 15-year-old in a 30-year-old's body. Regardless if he cheated or not, I'd dump him. Ghosting someone for 2 days over something stupid instead of talking about it and then boasting about being with other women is enough for me to drop them. If you want to find your forever person, stop wasting time on losers like this. Think of all the other great people you could have met if you dropped this immature man earlier. You sure those are the right ages? Leave this child. Seems more like he picked a stupid argument so he could hang out with the other person and not tell you until after. LMAO, this can't be real. He deliberately did something to hurt you. He had a tantrum because you hurt his feeling. Instead of talking about it, he didn't speak to you for 2 days. He is not your person. You are both strange and childish people. Mostly him though. I'd go down with the plane, is such virtue signaling weirdness. I trust my boyfriend, but I also know he can be vindictive and vengeful. I don't think you can trust someone who is consistently vindictive and vengeful. Goes through the hassle of posting from a throwaway account but then proceeds to detail a super specific incident that the boyfriend would most certainly recognize as being about him if he stumbled across it. Face with rolling eyes. Okay girl. You're both too headache and need to grow up. I had to go back and look at your ages again because after reading this I thought you both were around 18/19. The total lack of communication and weird petty energy here is very stupid. You should leave him and find a grown-up to date. This situation is so stupid. And I asked if we were still good. If there was someone else. This is so random. Why did your brain even go there? Either you are 13 years old or you are in a very childish relationship. You both don't sound like 29 and 30. You sound like 19 and 20. Besides, where's the cheating? Hanging out with someone from the opposite sex isn't cheating. I am sorry. This was clickbait. And if this story is true, that's a huge if. It's worthy of the following movie quote. I don't mean any disrespect. Was just reminded of this after I read the post. What you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points. And may God have mercy on your soul. Would you still love me if I were a worm? Single quote. I had to double check that y'all are actually 30 whole years old. My gut feeling tells me that he wouldn't have been so upset if he didn't have a woman as a backup waiting for him. Seems like he used the opportunity to have an excuse to dip in another sauce.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.